Good morning and welcome to this morning's reflection. Come on in and sit down. Well, it's good to be together again this morning as we spend some time just reflecting on what God has to say to us today. And so it is my prayer that if there is something in today's reflection that you are meant to hear, that you may hear it. We live in a cultural soup, and we absorb the flavors of this cultural soup. And in turn, we add our own flavor to it. It is our culture. And it is this culture that teaches us how to behave, how to think, and how to learn what is right and wrong. This is also true for churches, just as true for churches as it is for society at large. Every church is or has a distinct culture which is formed and nurtured by those who work at the church, either as leaders or as those who assist in the church, and those who attend the church, the members of the church. The leaders may guide the church towards a particular culture, but they are not the only ones who determine that culture. It is formed by the ongoing interaction between leaders and members. Everyone in the church is complicit in whatever culture is formed, whether it be good or bad. This culture, nurtured by church leaders and members, becomes self-reinforcing. Culture is powerful enough to form us in its own image. Never underestimate the power of the environment in which you live and work to transform you. Most of us would want to cultivate a good church culture. What is currently the culture of the church that you attend? We would hope that a church's culture would be rooted in compassion. Compassion will characterize a church's culture when the congregation and the leaders consistently interact in a compassionate way. When the culture of the church is rooted in compassion, it creates an environment that is safe, secure, and open. A church will develop a toxic culture when the leaders and members interact in toxic ways. If you are in a toxic culture, it becomes very, very, very hard to resist that culture. And so, never therefore underestimate the power of culture, because any rooted culture is almost irresistible. If a culture is toxic, it quickly becomes systemically corrupt, and it corrupts its members. Corrupt ideologies begin to flourish in such cultures, ideologies that are rooted in racism, sexism, and personal power. But if the culture is good, there will be healing and restoration. We build the culture around us each day by our actions. If we respond positively and generously to the world around us on a daily basis, we refashion who we are and we also refashion those with whom we engage in positive and generous ways. The author of a book recently recalled attending a church which was celebrity central. All the people on the stage were adored by the people in the seats. There was an ongoing applause and appreciation for the leaders, particularly the lead pastor. And in fact, the congregation applauded more than 10 times those who were in leadership positions or those who were in some way offering their services. Time and time again, the church was reminded about how wonderful it was and what a good job they were doing. And he comments that this was really a form of self-applause. And this stands in stark contrast to other churches where applause is very seldom heard. Cultures are not formed by programs or ministries. Culture is formed slowly over time. It is formed in individual relationships. It is formed in long conversations, in adjustments and changes. We do not think our way into behavior. We behave our way into new ways of thinking. Our actions shape our thinking. Our actions produce our culture. Culture often emerges from the characters of the people involved. Good people will produce a good culture. And Jesus underscores this when he speaks about fruit, the fruit that we produce being reflective of who we are. So that a Christ-like culture is always one that has its eyes on people, because the mission of the church is about God's redemptive love. So our church culture is exceptionally powerful in determining our experience of that church, and more importantly, it determines the experience that visitors have, those seeking God. So how would you describe your church culture? Perhaps as you reflect on that question, you might take what comes to mind into prayer and really ask God to show you how you might contribute to a Christ-like culture in your own church. May you be blessed today. Amen.